Welcome, everyone. This is our Aesthetic Impact monthly discussion of remote viewing practice targets. We have several students with us here this evening. We're sharing sessions and discussing results. Lynn Buchanan is with us, one of the former members of the remote viewing unit, Stargate, worked for the United States military. Lynn has been my trainer, and I in turn am training other students based on his teaching of me and using his manual, and he comes to our Wednesday discussions with much gratefulness on our part, lending us his expertise and skill level, because 5% of remote viewing is learned in the classroom, 95% is learned in practice, because we each get different things in session every time we remote view, and no two viewers are the same, no two sessions are the same, and you may not ever see anything in your session, but it may come through for someone else, and so you learn by seeing what they got as well. So we are indebted to everybody who participates in this discussion religiously. People show up week after week. Well, now it's down to month after month to practice and learn, because this kind of training doesn't come anyplace else. There are various forms of it. We are very good at, or happy that the remote viewing community is growing and more people are offering online get-togethers and chats and mentoring and study sessions. So it's groups like us who make a big difference, because we go forth and we can also explain to others, offer information if we can in an appropriate setting to the public at large. And these videos go up on YouTube. I don't keep track of statistics to see who watches or when or how many or anything like that. But we do make them public, and it's all part of the learning curve regarding remote viewing and what can be done with it and what it's good for, what it's not good for, and the fact that it exists at all. So thank you, everyone, for putting up with me. My office is in transition. The equipment's kind of in weird places. I do have a better mic, so hopefully that's going to work out for the best. And if my camera goes in and out, hopefully I will be able to fix that right away too. So with that, Lynn, if you could go ahead and talk to us about tonight's target and tell us about the feedback, and then we have 3 sessions to look at.
Okay. In San Pablo City in the Philippines, around in the early 1900s, a guy had a coconut plantation, and he wanted to, process the coconuts there and all. And for that, they needed water and electricity. Needed water for the crops and all that. And there was a creek, not a river, but a creek, fast-flowing creek, running through his property. So he built this dam, dammed up the creek, and made himself a little lake out there. And the overflow that goes over the dam flows right straight back into the old creek bed and, away from his property. So there's not, aside from the irrigation for his coconut trees, there's no other, usage of the water except to turn a hydroelectric plant. And that doesn't take water, it just takes the motion. So anyway, I think that he died. It's been over a month since I organized this target, and so I've done many sessions and targets since then. So anyway, his family set up a hotel in an area where you can get little creek rides or river rides now, and rides on the lake and all. Um, Also, the water flowing over this dam. Down at the bottom, it's the water is maybe 1 foot deep at the deepest, and there you can see the creek bed going on off to into the distance. And so they decided they were going to put a restaurant down there, and the place has become a real tourist attraction. People come, they stay at the hotel, they ride the rides, and ride, the river rides out along the lake and everything. And over the years, they have built up all these different attractions and things. But the restaurant here is the target for this week. And you can see how they have fixed that up to where you go out and you order your food, you eat there. The noise of the falling water is, roaring the entire time, but most of us know how the sound of falling water is really sort of just hypnotizing and peace. And you've also got the negative ions from the flow of the water. If you go to my website and go to this target of the week, there's a little video here that takes you down and around the entire eating area, looks back up, gives you all kinds of feedback. Each one of these things on my site, I put lots and lots of feedback in, but as a beginning viewer, you're not expected to get all of that stuff. You get what you get. And let's say you get 10 perceptions. You go in, and were the 10 perceptions right? Maybe there's 1,000 things you didn't get, but who cares? When you get into operations, the people don't want to know whether you get everything or not. What they want to know is how much can they depend on what you did get. And so this is how you score your session. You get 10 perceptions, and all of them are right. You get 100%. I don't care how many things you missed. What you got was 100% right. So you look at your session, you look at the feedback, and there is all this information that's there so that beginning viewers can use these as targets, intermediate viewers, advanced viewers, operational viewers who are professional can still use these same targets as, for keeping their proficiency up. So anyway, when you go to the website and you look at these targets, first of all, do the session, then look at the target. All you score is what you got, and you never count off for what you didn't get. So anyway, that's this this restaurant. It's called the Waterfall Restaurant, and if you go to the website and you watch that movie, you'll hear the sound of it. You'll see all the people moving around, stirring, the serving people. You'll get a feeling for the entire place, and so that way, hopefully, no matter what you got, I will hopefully have that information somewhere in the feedback. If not, then down at the very bottom of this, there is a set of links that you can go to for finding out more information about this. Also, on all of these targets that are at a location, I will have a dowsing map, and here you have the feedback for that dowsing if you're a dowser. So, so that's what these targets are all about. And don't let the completeness or the complexity of the feedback scare you off from using them because, they're designed to be used by everybody no matter what their level. Thing is, whatever you got, see if it's there. And if it's not there, you should count yourself wrong. But if there's no information to tell whether it's there or not, don't count yourself wrong. Just put a question mark by it, and you may even drop me a line and say, hey, is this there or not? I need to know for my scoring. So anyway, this is a really neat place. It's in the Philippines. A lot of Spanish spoken, a lot of English spoken. And I think as you go around the hotel area, I got pictures of the whole place, but this was the target. I think the signs are in both Spanish and English. And there are little covered shuttle rides that take you all around the property. There are boat rides you can get out on the lake and things like this. So you may have picked up information from around this site and you won't see it in this feedback. Hey, go to those links. You'll see the information there. So that's what this is. And I called it wet foot dining because you sit there and there's up at the top of those stairs that lead down to this, there's this big humongous shoe rack where you can take your shoes off and leave them there. And that way you go down here barefooted. I don't think I'd go down here in a pair of expensive shoes.
Yeah, same thing as if you went to Niagara Falls. That's not a good idea either.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Lynn. I think first I'd like to thank a lady by the name of Ellie, who is on the Facebook group, who sent an email and said she wanted to try to work the target and has never participated with us before, so didn't really have any idea, but she just wanted to try. So here's what she sent. I copy and pasted her email message into a Word page because I didn't want to share her email address on air without her permission. But she took, she took 150304. See, that's my bad. I don't know what that target is. I looked at it, but no matter what she got, I don't want to mix it in with this session. But what she got was, I am getting a desert location, New Mexico, a white building, red roof, desert trees, swimming pool, possibly a resort location, outdoor pool surrounded by lounge chairs. I see stars visible, very open area. Lynn, do you have any idea if that might be correct? I thought she jumped to you as the tasker, possibly.
Yeah, I just looked it up, and
anywhere close on any of that?
None of it. However, she couldn't have zeroed in on my house any better than that.
That's what I thought. That's perfect. That's a perfect example.
The only difference there is I have a white roof instead of a red one. Everything else is, give her a 95% on this.
I was wondering if I might have some pictures of the interior, but does your website currently? It doesn't have the house up on it now, does it? It has the image, the 3 blocked off images. For a while, your website had the house at the top.
Yeah, I know. No, it doesn't have it anymore. Linda changed the.
That's what I thought. Would you be able to send me that image and I will send it to her?
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, like I say, the only thing is we have a blinding white roof. Because out here, if you don't have a blinding white roof, you bake inside of your house during the summertime. So,
I see. Okay. Let me grab some sessions here. This is what I need. All right. We'll grab Janine's. She said I'm sending this in just under the wire because I think I don't know if she actually worked 04 as well, but here we go. Here's Janine's. She has 11 pages. And her AI is someone concentrating on a machine dial or output. I feel surprised, a bit startled. By the way, Gabrielle, this is your first evening. Welcome. And Gabrielle is just beginning to have me monitor her. And so she's reviewed the manuals, and we've done a few sessions. And so she's getting site contact.
Teresa?
Yo.
Look at the coordinates she used.
Yeah. Oh, this is the wrong one, isn't it?
However, her description so far is correct.
Because I relabeled this file, and let me check my email, because she said in Facebook, this isn't the coordinates, and I said I changed them, and so let me see. All right, her session still says 04. Her target email says 150325. All right, and that's because you and I are transitioning how we were doing it tonight, and I grabbed the feedback that was up there because I wanted the tasking. I wanted to be able to post the tasking, and I thought, okay, we didn't get that done. I'm going with 04. I'm done. And so that's what happened there. So let's take a look at her session.
Good.
And see what we've got. All right, so coordinates are 04. And here, Gabrielle, you'll see that she has more than one ideogram in here. It's a big one. It's complex. You can see her hash marks. However, Janine, I do recommend highly that you make you've got perfect IAB sequence, but over here, we're left to figure out on our own which is number 1, which is number 2, which is number 3, and where number 4 is, which I can figure that out. But if you ever send, it's good to label those. And I know you know which one you're doing.
Yeah, that is a compound ideogram instead of a complex one.
Mm-hmm. And then Gabrielle, she decided she's not going to take coordinates anymore, and she grabbed one of her gestalts, motion, and brought it down and put it in parentheses, and now she's working the motion, but she's winking about the site, and all her senses are picking things up, so even though she's working motion, she could get all kinds of other information from around her, not just the motion. So here's her AI. She gets that pretty early on. And her emotional response to someone concentrating on a machine dial or output, it surprises her. She feels a bit startled. So she's going to work, instead of going to P3, she's going to work her sketch or her ideograms just a little more. Oop, got a little sleepy and took a break and resumed. Need a time there when you resume, Janine. Okay, some of her sketches. Janine is a noun person. She works very hard at she's very curious, which is a very great thing in a viewer, because you poke your nose in that target and you start looking around and exploring it and describing details. But she's a good sketcher. And so she works this sketch and then labels it with numbers, and then comes underneath it and writes the perceptions that go with that. I'll put this big screen here. It doesn't help a lot. Maybe this might, though. Maybe. I like to try and keep it as big as possible so people can see. But the numbers and the perceptions are written down below the numbers underneath the session, going down vertically on the left-hand side of the paper. And she wrote, it appears to be a structure. I didn't see that in her session. I'm jumping there. And it's predominantly white, clean, not a lot of furniture in the area, floors hard, tile-like. Aw, man. This is the other lady's just exactly. Floors hard, tile-like, white or off-white. Attached structured elements reminds me of counters and cabinets, appliance-like metal, silver or white. Clinical feel, well, maybe not completely.
Can I add something in there
Yep.
for Gabriella, but also for everybody as a reminder?
Mm-hmm.
If could you go back to that previous sketch? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that she went to the floor there and labeled it 1, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then she went to 2, and then she went to 3. If she went back to the floor again, she would not label it number 4 because that's place number 1 on her sketch. She would label it 1 again. And this is something that's that will trip up analysts, because if she put a 4 down here, they'd be looking all over the place for a 4 and not find it.
So you're saying that she got all her perceptions 1 through 3, and if she went back and got more perceptions under 1, she would write number 1 under number 3 again?
That's right, because it's place number 1 on the sketch.
Okay.
It's not a 1-up number of perceptions, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Good point. It's amazing the things you take for granted that people understand, just in case. Okay, here's good. She resumed at 1 a.m. She's bad as me. Up late. Of course, I do a lot of my best work about 1 a.m. I think that's my Teresa sidereal time. I identified that a long time ago. All right, so here's another sketch. Another excellent sketch. And let's see, enclosed area, square angles, hard flooring, lights, sparse furniture, rectangular shape below the ground, sectional horizontally, seems utilitarian. And thoughts something like jagged teeth or points being rounded of P7 of evaporative. And structure more than one story or level, a awning-like projection, hard like brick, quiet town-like ambiance. All right, so she took a break and got interrupted. Interruption break. To get sight contact, again, she took her coordinates, made an ideogram, got back into it. And we've got peaking, repetitive, liquid, mountains, energy, little wavy thing inside a box here she scratched, screen-like graphic, and an AOL of seismic, charting, measuring, and steadiness, highs and lows. Yes, sir. Oh, sounded like you keyed up your mic.
Yes, I did. I don't want to correct or anything, but that's a wavy line inside a square.
Mm-hmm.
Not a box, a square.
A square. Thank you. Very good.
Yeah, for an analyst, that winds up being a very important difference.
Right, and it's just me talking on the webinar. So
yeah, I know, but
yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very good point. A box is a noun. No, I'm not calling that a box. Her sketch is a wavy line inside a square. Actually, it's more of a rectangle. But
yeah, at the target, there is a square thing with a wavy line on one side.
I mean, even though she's got wrong coordinates up here.
But it is not a box. She's doing 0304.
Yeah, that's what her coordinates said.
She is doing a fantastic job of 0304. It really is.
04 or 05 or 25?
04.
She really is? Okay. Because there's an awning in 25. Okay. Well, Janine, you're doing a bang-up job on 04, but I don't want to screw everybody up and put that feedback up here. But congratulations. I just noticed we have water and we have an awning, so I thought, well, maybe, you know, she jumped and was doing the right one anyway. But congratulations, you're doing the right thing for 04. And
there is a liquid which plays a very important part in 04 too. So.
All All right. Well, everybody go now. See, she put her coordinates on this one. 25. Target 150325. That's
Good, and it'll
again.
be interesting to see in her summary which one she describes.
Good point. Because see, and that's a tasking error because I posted on Facebook and then I corrected it, but she didn't get the correction. And so she's like, wait a minute, which target am I supposed to be working this month? So, target has aspects of motion, man-made, objects, land, and bio. Man-made appears to be objects. Object 1 seems to be, and very critical point, object number 1, perfect. Tells me what one she was looking at in session, and she labeled it. So seems to be some sort, I need to enlarge this just a little bit, some sort of technical device or machine which measures something. It appeared to have a screen, and it felt like the bio or bios present were concentrating on it. It appeared to measure with an up and down graphic, much like a sine wave, which I thought that looked like a sine wave, with peaks and troughs. There was another man-made, which appeared to be a structure, perhaps 2 stories, hard material with a projection midway in front reminiscent of an awning. There was an impression of a room, predominantly white, with hard tile-like flooring, an attached structure element lining the walls, which reminded me of cabinets and countertops. The area had a clinical type or utilitarian type of feel, and there seemed to be something appliance-like set into the cabinetry and possibly of metal. Another area also utilitarian in feel, as it seems sparsely furnished with a low rectangular structure and tall vertical structure which seemed to resemble horizontal shelving. The overall feel I gained from this target was one of measuring or monitoring something in a structure with some type of technical graph or chart. And so, Ellie, in that email that she had sent in, it sounded like your house, but a lot of the few perceptions she sent sounds similar to Janine's. So do you think?
No, not at all.
Not at all? Okay.
Ellie did a bang-up session on the wrong target.
Okay. Yes, she nailed your house, boy, other than the roof.
She sure did.
All right. So, congratulations, Janine. I'm sorry we're not looking at your feedback, but Lynn said you did a great job.
Oh, you did. Yeah.
And, let me look for.
And in fact, if she wants to go look at her feedback and rescore her session, I think she's going to be extremely pleased.
Okay. Janine says, I switched coordinates after I started the session. Oh, Lord have mercy. So now she's like, changed locations even.
Yeah, but I don't think her subconscious did. I think her subconscious had locked onto that first target and stayed there.
Ah. All right, let me just scroll up all the chats. Bob said hi, and Gabriella said hello, and the talk thing. Okay, and everybody's saying hi, and all right. Oh, here's Janine. I did change to the correct target number, still missed the target. No, you hit the target that you set out for, which was 04. Lynn says so. If Lynn says so, you're golden.
Yeah, and I just went back and looked at the target, and she's got a lot of things. There are a couple of things I can't feedback on, one being the white tile floor, but I think that it's probably a part of, I don't know. That's one I'd have to go research it some. Everything else is 04. Yeah, that's great.
Well, congratulations, ma'am. All right, let's do this again.
Okay, does anybody hear me? Her machine is conked out again. Last time it did this, people were still, okay, you can hear me? for some reason, she always has trouble with this, with what is it, the WebEx people, with the Cisco WebEx people. And I don't know why. I'm not sure. I think she was going to Bob's target next. I haven't seen it. What happened here this last month was I had set up today's target, and I sent her the address on the web of the feedback and everything else. And evidently, she thought it was the target for the week after last month's webinar. And so she typed in 150304 instead of 15, and sent that out as the tasking. Well, then a little bit later, I caught it and wrote to her, and she then put up on the web and all the notices that no, it wasn't 04, it was 25 for the 25th of March. And by that time, several people, I think, had already done their targets. So this was absolutely a tasking mix-up. I think she just is gone. I know her, she's trying to get back, and right now she's probably choosing some of those choice descriptive words for WebEx. She has been just, with her job and with the students and everything else, she has just been having a hard time. This seems to have just disappeared. Can somebody still hear me? If you can hear me, would you put in a thing saying yep, 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 or something? There you go. So she's been able to correct this every time. She should be back in a minute. Does anybody have any questions? I can't turn on a mic, but you can type in a question if you have one. So if anybody has a question about this target or about CRV in general, let me know. Let's discuss it. It'll help everybody to discuss it. You have some life from her, at least. It's kind of bad when the host gets kicked off. What should we do when there's a change of target to help us set aside the previous one? The set aside process that you go through in CRV training works like a charm. You don't always get notified that there's been a switch of targets, but what I have found helpful, because it happened a lot in the military, drop what you're doing and do something else. What I found helpful for me was go ahead and do the wrong one, or do the one that was originally tasked or whatever. Finish it, and then at the bottom, write end session, put a time and a date on it, and when you do these sessions, you're supposed to put that on there anyway, so that your subconscious gets the idea, hey, we're finished with that session. But what I do is I just go ahead and finish off the session I'm doing, the previous target, and then you can always come back to it, and then I go to the next one. But I try to get some kind of finalization for my subconscious, so that it doesn't have to do the military thing of drop what you're doing and do something else. There were a lot of times when we would have a session, and that we'd be doing for some general or something like that, and some congressman would come in and say, "No, drop what you're doing," and mine outranks the general, and we get halfway through that session, and the general would say, "No, mine outranks the congressman, and lives depend on mine," and all that. And a lot of times we were just jerked back and forth, and you get to where you can sort of put one on the shelf and take another one, but you also get to the point where you just kind of go with the flow. I see. I'm going with the flow right now. Up above, there's a list of people there. Yeah. If you don't see it, go up to the top and click on participants, and that will show the list of people. Yeah, when we would get a command of drop what you're doing and do something else when the remote viewing happens, I always took the attitude of the number one rule in remote viewing: the viewer is in charge here. And I would say, okay, I'm going to finish this one. And some general would say, no, drop what you're doing and do something else. And I'd say, this is the way it's done, sir. And that would be that. Yeah, you can reassign yourself a target. You can retask yourself very easily. Or when you get into operations, there are a lot of times when you'll finish a session and the whole project will be finished and you'll be off, and even a month or so later, the project manager will come back and say, hey, you worked on question 3 on that project a month ago. I need more information on question 3. And so you would get retasked with it. You'd go right back into session and do it.
All right, I'm back.
There you are.
Oh, dear God. Computer locked up. And I see Andrew is with us. He's another new student. And he and I, we had a cluster of issues with electronics for class. Skype didn't work for either of us. The computer didn't work for either of us. Thank God we had printed manuals because we resorted to the phone and our printed manuals for review.
Hey, you got to be nice. Don't speak badly about computers. They're going to run the world pretty soon. They already run the world.
I know. And when I get emotional, like get a little frustrated, I think they pick up. I do a little PK thing, so I have to try really hard not to do that. Yeah.
It comes along.
Oh, that's right. I don't need the target brought up. I need the emails brought up, and we'll be rolling again. All right, mail. Here we go. Inbox. Oh, I did have them in file, didn't I? That's right. All right, so let me grab these other two and 150325. And Michelle's not here. Man, she's missing a show tonight. She would just be hooting at her house, laughing at me at this point.
We're not getting a picture for you. and
Oh,
we're
wow.
not getting your screen.
Oh, okay. Let me fix. I'm sharing. The thing is, if I do it too fast, I get into trouble. And I'm used to like whipping this mouse around. All right, share my screen.
Yeah, Janine, sometimes you don't end a session, and it's very important. Everything in CRV is there for a purpose, and the physical act of writing down end session, putting a time and a date on it, is your way of getting across to your subconscious mind, hey, we have ended this session. That doesn't mean we've ended the target, but we have ended this session. And so by habitually doing this, it gets your subconscious into the habit of saying, oh, okay, if anybody needs more, they'll ask me later. Right now, I'm not worrying about it. There's a pretty girl on the screen.
Back. Thank you.
Hi, back.
Woohoo! I'm not touching that. I'll leave your name up there. I'm minimized. That's all right. Now, let us proceed forthwith. I was moving toward Ron's. I'm not going fast with the mouse this time. Ron's session coming up. And here it is. And I am going to also open up Bob's, pin them all to the toolbar, and close this window. That way, hopefully, this thing won't go nuts again. Trying to do that. All right, made that go away. All right, let's look at Ron's session. And Andrew has not had his he's only manual review, and he's coming in this week, so that'll be fun. And he will be remote viewing for the first time ever. He's not even cross-training. So he's coming in and learning from scratch. So we will go down through this. It's 9 pages, and Ron put his summary at the top, which is what you're supposed to do. I've never stressed that with my students because I have to go down through their session anyway. So the target is a process at a location, 150325. And coordinates, very good. Trying to scroll slowly so my machine is happy. All right, moving into phase 2, Stray Cat of Milk. And he writes excellent summaries. When I say that, I am never saying that other people don't. I'm just commenting on Ron's work. By the way, so far, we need to make sure you guys are leaving some space in between your AOL stray cats and your perceptions instead of having them on the same line.
And why do we do that?
Hang on, I'm muting Gabriella. Sorry.
And why do we do that, the teacher asks?
There's never anything on the same line, and I'm trying to like parrot the manual.
Yeah.
No line in session above the line you're on. Below the line you're on, above the line you're on.
Yeah, the reason for that is that the analyst can often tell more by the order in which you get things than the things you get.
And so here he's...
Yeah, that's additional information. So you do that for the analyst.
Yeah, and I'm on page 6, and he's done. He's left space. So, of course, the minute I comment on it, he corrects himself. There you go. And I am moving down through this, but for Gabrielle and Andrew, you'll see that he is pulling his gestalts down, writing them in parentheses, and then vertically on the left-hand side of the paper, coming down and writing his perceptions. Off at the right are his stray cats, his noun boxes, his namer and guesser attempts of his conscious mind to identify the target, or there's something associating at the target that it's still trying to identify it, but his mind is saying, hey, And you want to keep that conscious mind busy. So you declare these, set them off at the right so you don't jump into imagination, and keep writing. Get back over to that left-hand side of the paper and keep writing your perceptions. And we will be going back to his summary, which is going to tie all of this together. He works his session, goes down through phase 2, and he has an AI of a busy place. Your AI, and Ron has been on sabbatical with family, a lot of family things for close to a year, so he's getting back into it. Remember, your AI has 2 parts. It's your spatial relationship to the target, like you are actively involved. All of a sudden, there's an I-me relationship to the target. So it's a busy place. But to declare your AI, you'd say something like, I'm there, or it's in front of me. I know that's very basic. And then you would...
Yeah.
Then you would declare your emotional response to the target, because everybody always has one. You declare the emotion by saying it, what it is, and I'll say this in a second. That way the emotion doesn't hijack your session. Usually, Ron continues on with the session, he does fine. But to get it down appropriately, you would say, your spatial relationship to the target, like where you are. It's in front of me, it's bigger than me, it's over there, something that indicates that you are personally interacting there, and how does it make me feel?
Yeah, on this you could also say, I'm in a busy place.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that make me feel? Yeah.
Yeah, whether you say curious, wow, not so much, I don't like it. Whatever your emotional response is, you need to declare it, write it down. All right, and he is also a great sketcher. So we have a scene here. I'm calling it a scene. We have some, go ahead.
What is the date on this target?
150325.
No, that's the target number. What is the date that he did it?
Oh, I'm trying not to scroll fast here.
Oh, sorry about that.
You asked me to move around. We're, risking the black screen of death. 3/22/15.
Hey, I'm sorry, sir.
Now what?
He has a perfect description of 150304.
Great. Congratulations, Ron. You've nailed 150304. Oh my God. All right, so let's just go. Well, actually, that was a great sketch.
That was a fantastic sketch.
He always does great sketches. So I'm really regretting that at the end of this, I'm going to pull up 04 if my computer doesn't lock up again. All right, so here's this wonderful sketch, and I am going to name these things just so people understand what they look like. So this thing on top that looks like a rectangular structure that's evidently big enough to have people in it. So whether they're on their knees or standing up, I can't say. But it has a door, what appears to be a door and a window, and even a chimney or a skylight or something. And there are 3 biologicals there that appear to be human. Then there appears to be, it could be a railroad track because it has the round circles under it. Railroad tracks have ties under them, which are square. Or it could be like a conveyor belt. Another possibility, that's why you describe, don't identify. Think about how many things this thing that looks like tracks could be. There are a lot of things in the world made with tracks. So if you don't say for sure, if somebody comes out and says it's a railroad track and it turns out to be a conveyor belt, whoever's looking at that session is going to say, well, he got that wrong. Can we believe anything else he said? So therefore, and I don't know what his summary says yet, so we'll see what he did. And there appears to be, yes, Lynn,
a wavy line on the square.
God. We don't dress up for these occasions, folks. This is a campfire atmosphere here. Just kick back, be comfortable. You never know what's going to happen.
You couldn't make this up in a fictional story. I mean,
You can't make this stuff up. All right, so it appears to be a conveyor belt. So we have another man-made, and really, this is right up Ron's alley. He is very strong on these kinds of targets. I'm going to laugh myself silly here now. And I don't know what it's doing, but it looks like, it's ready to catch something off the conveyor belt or something. It's manufacturing. Now, this is a blind target for me, so this is good. Then we have another rectangular shaped man-made with looks like some kind of a pipe type apparatus, and we'll see if that turns out to be exhaust or something. It's hard to say. Or it could be electrically input. If I name it and I'm wrong, you're going to learn. Don't name it. Describe it. And then down at the bottom, we have another square-shaped, and this one's sectioned, almost like if you had stacks of something, and it appears elevated on 3 stilt-like or pallet type. So it looks like it's possibly something sitting on a pallet, but I don't have any idea. There's also a top to it, which he's indicated that has like a rimmed area.
You'll see what it is in the feedback.
This is just getting hysterical now. All right, and for you newcomers, this is stage 4, and you'll learn that this is intermediate level where you have columns, and this is where it really gets fun. In basic, you're learning sight contact, learning how to stay steady in time and space, unless your tasking stinks and you get multiple sets of coordinates. And then, it's a little rough. But you move through these columns and you indicate in parentheses if you are going to start chasing a particular perception. I don't want to confuse you and try and explain that now. You're not there yet. But phase 4 is fun. You can work a target. You can work through phase 3 for a long time too. But phase 4, you can really start moving around. All right. So he says that here they do quality control things, and there's lemon scent too. So I'm going to try scrolling back up to his summary.
Okay. And when you do, when you started this, I thought, oh no. I put the wrong tasking. I think you read the tasking when you put this, that it's a process at a location. That is, there it is. Target is a process at the location. That is the tasking for 0304.
Right. Yeah.
It's not the tasking for 0325.
By the time I tried to update Facebook and 3 e-groups through Yahoo, God only knows who's viewing what now.
Yeah.
All right.
But they're doing well. They're viewing well. That's the main thing.
Yeah, they're evidently turning some excellent viewers because they're getting the job done. All right. So the target appears to have, that's very good, appears to have at this point, aspects of liquid, motion, energy, man-made, organic, and natural. So you got all the gestalts. Liquid appears wet, white, and flowing. It appears heated, processed, with a mixture giving it a sweet taste. The man-made appears metallic, shiny, with reflective areas. It is clean and well-maintained. The mechanical moving parts seem well lubricated. The chain on the gearbox has a slightly humming sound. See this? He could live, eat, and breathe this real facility.
Yeah, that's a little too many nouns going on there.
Yeah. That's what we're working on, this storytelling, and trying to get people to start breaking out perceptions. So the chain on the gearbox, you can't name the chain on the gearbox. You have to describe the perceptions of that. So even though you're probably right, I can't wait to see the feedback, has a slight humming sound where it connects to the electric motor. The area it is connected to seems wide, shallow, and moving product across. And another thing, when Ron came into this, he wanted to nail targets. And so for him, nailing the target, he still has to let go of identifying. And he knows that. But unfortunately, he still nails the target. So it's kind of hard to, convince somebody who's getting pretty darn good at it. The area it is connected to seems wide, shallow, and moving the product across. The motion appears flowing around the area. It appears to be turning, slowly mixing as it fills. There seems to be a motor sound. The energy appears to be high voltage and low voltage. A current transformer is producing control power to run a computer control unit. The cabinet is well lighted with white, red, and clear indicator lights. It is well maintained and very efficient. An emergency stop seems present and red. The organic appears to be female. They seem to have their heads covered and wearing masks. He did mention hospital in there as a stray cat.
And that's a noun, and he'll find that it screwed him up.
Okay. Well, he did stray cat it. I didn't follow him in session to see what happened after that because I wouldn't know if he's right or wrong at this point. So they seem to be wearing plaid blue tops. Females seem very busy and good at their work, helping each other. They seem to be wearing white gloves. There is clean, almost sanitized smell. A slight smell of lemon giving a citrus taste.
Yeah, and see, that's where the hospital messed him up.
Okay. All right, so we're going to save this excellent session in our minds.
On this session, before you look at the feedback, which will be later,
yeah,
he says milk.
Yeah.
That's a noun.
Right.
Okay.
He straight chatted all those, by the way, in session.
Yeah, and that's good that he did, but it's absolutely wrong. However, when you look at the feedback, look at the heated white flowing liquid, which is all descriptors and is all 100% correct. You've got to get rid of those nouns. You got to. They'll mess you up every time.
Well, he did. He stray catted it.
I'm sure glad he did.
Excellent. We're all really glad you did, Ron. And we're going to look at that feedback here very shortly. Which at the moment I don't have any feedback up. So let's take a look at Bob's. And unfortunately, Bob at this point is an advanced student, and we have tons of pages and tons of opportunity for him to, describe whichever target he wants.
Yeah, and we also have the front loading for 0304.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to scroll rather slowly down through here. And Bob is trying out, if we have any time at the end of this evening, to discuss mapping. I don't want to give a mapping course tonight, but he is trying out all the P6 tools in advanced. And learning like what ones he's good at, what ones, duck to water kind of thing, or just practicing kind of thing. He's getting his feet wet. And really, to find targets, to use all of those tools takes time, and it really takes some intuitive effort trying to find things to measure and stuff. Yes, your direction is there in the tasking on the website, but I mean, there's a lot of tools you can practice. So he may have some specific questions for us.
But the targets for it are not hard to find. I have about 350 of them now on my site.
but if you wanted to practice a certain tool, I mean, you're pretty much at the mercy of pulling up a target and seeing what one is there and what is available, you'd have to look to find. It's like, I want to practice this particular tool. You would have to look for a target in the tasking that would offer that opportunity, is what I'm saying.
I try to put things like that in every target I can that goes up on the website.
I know, but it doesn't comprise every P6 tool, is what I'm saying.
That's right, yeah.
And so that's what I'm meaning. If you're looking to practice a particular tool, sometimes it takes a while to find a target where that opportunity is there. It's there. Some of the tools are there. If you want to practice a particular one, sometimes it's a little hard.
Yeah, that's where it helps to have someone who knows how to pick targets.
Mm-hmm.
Underline that and put it in caps. Someone who is trained to pick targets that you can trust.
Yeah.
Underline that one too.
Or a trainer that has, a trainer that has enough time to get a stash of those made up. A trainer who needs an assistant. Okay. Here's his AI. I'm at the site. I get a sense of inauguration and majestic ambiance, solemn yet festive. Okay. And his sketches are usually, I don't really want to flip this machine around. Normally I would flip this so that it was upright and we could see it. I don't want to lock up again. So his sketches are usually in this form. He indicates his gestalts and stuff like the L's and whatever indicate people and their placement. And this is how you learn as a person, you guys, to work with a team, because everybody's going to do it a little differently within the structure. But yet, this is how he perceives best, and this is how he records. And so if I can tell you some people who are not here would be viewing the same target, and their sketches wouldn't look anything like his. They wouldn't look like Ron's, but they wouldn't look like Bob's either. So everybody does it differently.
Yeah,
but the structure is the same.
Can I make a point on the structure here on this one page that you're on?
Yeah, as I'm tipping my head sideways.
Yeah, he has 1, 2, and 3 side by side.
Yeah.
And let's say he goes to 1, finds that it's flat, wide, solid, and all. And then he goes over to the structure, and then he finds a relationship between the structure and the land. Then he just goes and puts it even. And like I say, when you get into operations, the analyst needs to know the order in which you get things. And this is why we say never write two things on the same, two perceptions on the same line. Always keep going. Vertical. Yeah, always keep going down the page. So you'd have land, flat, wide, solid, and then you'd have number 2, structure, stage-like, and so on. And then let's say he found a relationship between them. He could go back and say 1 and 2 and give the relationship, and it would show the order in which he got things. So while this does get the information, you'll find that once you go operational, an analyst will not want to work with you because they want to know the order in which you got things, and if you write 2 perceptions on the same line, they can't tell. And so it's a good habit to get into, that you keep moving down the page always.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can flip this. This is just.
I think it's probably clear. There you go.
I know. Well, I'm afraid I'm gonna lock my computer up again if I mess around too much. So that's why I.
Is that smoke coming up between you and the screen?
Not yet. It will lock up if that happens. That little laughing helped quite a bit with my frustration. So, and it's, if I could just get that homepage right, that was a big frustrating thing for me on my website. So, all right. So for you new folks, Bob he's using his cues and move commands to stay curious, and he's exploring various parts of this target, moving around, move to the land, smells, move to the land, sounds, And every time he does that, he has to write for me what he's doing so I know. I can follow him.
Okay, can you go back there
Yeah.
and let me make another structural thing?
Uh-huh.
Move to the loud sounds or land sounds.
Mhm.
Okay, amplified, crowd. Okay, crowd is a thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
should go over in the things column. Yeah.
Needs to be over here.
Applause is a descriptor of a sound. Okay.
Mhm.
Speaking is a descriptor. Musical, festive, applause like, musical, crowd like, amplified. These would all be descriptors if they were written as adjectives. But like crowd is a thing and should go over in the T column. And what he's doing here is he's putting the heading, but then he's not using the columns.
Yeah.
So as good as he is, you really need to point him toward operations because he's going to be very ready for it soon. And you know, we don't want it to come up to where somebody says, you know, I don't want to work with him because of the structure.
Yeah.
Good viewer, but you need to work with him on the structure on these things. There you go. Now he's got it. Now he's getting it.
See, and I can't, like, I know that he knows, but until I can scroll down and show you the session, it looks like he doesn't know, but he knows.
It's just practice, practice, practice. That's all it is.
Yeah. So this is, again, he's the viewer who was the product of last year's retasking and being told when to do absolutely everything. So now he's kind of gotten his wings. And so I told him, and we talked about this our last webinar, that very same thing. So see, now he's using the columns more. And I know him, he's furiously making notes.
Yeah, and this is beautiful looking transcript too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he's very meticulous and very precise. And again, that's not to say that other people are not. Just commenting on his work. All right, so now, see these arrows right here, boss? He knows.
Yeah, he even makes corrections. I saw some up above too, corrections as to the column. That's good.
He knows.
That's really good.
All right. Oh, Lord, something else I have to flip. All right, so here he's drawn a line for the matrix and said phase 6, see page 18 for the phase 6 matrix. And he wants to try to just feel along a line for the weight of something. He hasn't learned the big timelines with narrowing stuff down and dousing yet. We just went over that.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
So here he started with 0 and went to 10 pounds, and he wants to go along this line and feel to see. This is where new folks, we talked about how important it is that you learn that the Gestalt has 2 parts in phase 1. You're learning to feel because you're going to build on that concept and that talent and that ability as you're in your P6 or P3 sketch. And now he's in phase 6 with scalar tools, measuring things.
Yeah, and when you get into phase 6, it's almost completely advanced, highly advanced ideograms. And don't short circuit yourself on learning and practicing your ideograms because you're going to see them over and over and over all the way through the session, all the way through your training. And phase 1 has simple ideograms. Phase 3 is a sketch, which is actually a two-dimensional ideogram. When you get up into phase 6 and some of the higher levels of phase 6, you can have 3, 4, 5, 6-dimensional ideograms where you're measuring things in 3 dimensions plus the 4th dimension of time, plus a 5th dimension of purpose changing in 3 dimensions over time, and some of these ideograms get very, very complex. So please practice your ideograms. You do in stage 1, and you're going to find that as the ideograms get more complex, they'll be easy. If you short circuit yourself on the practice of the ideograms in phase 1, they'll be harder for you later on.
All right. We've made it to his summary. And he's got a map tool here as well, which without any feedback up, I remember, you know, we're doing okay here with the computer, so I don't want to go back and do a bunch of, I will at the end. We'll look at feedback. So remember what the restaurant looked like in the Philippines. So here are his dowsing sheets. He sent those separately. He knows that they're part of his session, so he used this. And again, he's learning all the different tools. I mean, everything from ruler to hotspot to sectoring to vectoring, and just trying to look for an opportunity to use them. Now, in this one, my choice as a viewer would not have been to say, we're working on blank maps too, and how you start out with nothing, and then you keep narrowing it down. And you could narrow this particular map down to say whatever the target was say, we're going to say it's up here. It's in, I'm trying to find something that's got lots of stuff. But say it's in Algeria. I'll just pick that. So he would draw this map and decide that it's in this lower right-hand corner square. So then he would draw it again, draw that into 4 pieces or 4 sections, and do it again, and keep narrowing it down. And the analyst or the project manager or the customer would have the map that this would all overlay, and he would keep narrowing it down, and he could get it down to the country, the region, the city, and the neighborhood, just by continually redrawing these 4 areas in the 4 squares.
Right, and just as an example, there is a project that's been working for a police department where a team of CRVers, not remote viewers, but CRVers, actually on a map of the United States got this down to the exact building outside of a town from a map of the U.S. And once you learn how to do this and practice, you can get really, really good at it.
You know, it kind of makes me a little tired just thinking about that. That's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, but
very rewarding.
What they basically did was they just narrowed it down and narrowed it down and narrowed it down, and not on one map. And seeing this, we provide maps with the targets on the website, which sort of narrows it down for you, which is cheating, but hey, big deal. And they're practice targets. But one caution on this, using a map of the world, always starting out with a map of the world. This target is on the Earth, but you may get targets that are not on the Earth, and if you assume on your mapping that it's going to be on the Earth, then it already makes you wrong. So a blank map is often preferable than a map of the world, depending on what kind of targets you get, you know.
Gotcha. So, you know, he practiced this way. I think I probably, with a map that already exists, I probably would have done hotspot or ruler to see if he could feel a bump. But anyway,
the thing is to try it every way you can, like he's doing it.
Yes, sir.
Data, and the database will tell you which way works best for you.
And that's just it. Everybody's different, and you might be good at all of them, but until you practice all of them and keep track of your results, you don't know where your accuracy is going to fall. So if he is actually working 2-5, then and it's in the Philippines, you know, there's a few thousand bazillion miles there, but at least he's in the right section of the world.
Sure is, yeah.
So, all right, so, okay, in session, and he picked up his set-asides. Very good. He has graded min section, by the way.
I was noticing that. It is good.
By the way, how do you feel? I was going to ask you about this. He had a preview of coming attraction, and I've been trying to explain, and I don't know if it was anybody besides him or just him. And we probably have had class since he sent this session in, so we've probably talked about it. But your preview of coming attraction is any flashes or thoughts or what have you of what the target might be. If he sets aside the tasking, what happened, which is what he did. He set aside the tasking, which, you know, was his front loading. So what happens if he declared that and set that aside? Which he didn't, by the way. He listed it as a polka. He did not put it down under set aside. So I guess he didn't actually set it aside, which, Bob, if you have a polka, it is supposed to be included in your set aside because it's a stray cat.
Yeah, what he actually did here was the target is a process at a location, and then his polka was previous session, and then he did set aside previous session.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of times you'll get 10 targets in a row that are locations. The target's a location, describe the location.
Right.
And you'll get things like this. So a lot of times, like when I get a session or I get a tasking, and I think, oh, I'll bet I'm reworking a previous session, I'll write down previous session.
Right. Okay. I encourage all my students to do that.
Yeah, and you don't really have to write down in your POCA what caused you to think it's a previous session. You can if you want to. There's nothing wrong with this, because then after writing it and setting it aside, he picked it back up again.
Right.
With the front loading. So there's nothing really wrong with that. I just, you know, I may think, oh, I saw a thing on TV this morning about a building that fell over, and I'll bet it's that building I'm being tasked with. I'll write down building that fell over. I won't write down what caused me to think of it. So many times the front loading will cause you to think of a previous target,
right,
or a memory of something. You know, the target is a process. Oh yeah, I was at, you know, some factory one time, and I saw a process when I was a kid on a school outing, and you write down the school outing. You don't have to write down what caused you to think of it. But if you do, no problem.
Okay. Well, I was curious as to what you would say. So he wrote down the tasking as a preview of coming attractions when it's really a form of pollution, not a true psychic preview of coming attractions. And then if he would have set it aside, would it have been essentially setting aside the tasking for this whole target?
Probably so. But then, like I say, he picks it up again in the front loading. A lot of people are scared to death of front loading because
Right.
they think it's pollution.
Right.
When it's done wrong, it is absolutely pollution and to be avoided. When it's done correctly, you don't have to worry about it. But, you know, a lot of times you can say the target is a process of the location and then do a set aside of the pollution that is involved in front loading.
Mm-hmm.
Front loading, which tells you anything about the target, is pollution. This tells you where to put your work. The target that you're going after is the process that is at a location. That doesn't tell you anything about the process or the location.
Yeah.
And so, just a minute. Yeah, I'm on a web thing. And so I'm going to mute this while I talk to Mom. Just one second. But anyway,
Okay.
you get the idea. The target is the process.
Right.
And so you can get rid of the pollution that way.
Okay. All right. So his summary. Do we have a 10-page summary here? It said 23 to 33. He's been working on getting a lot of perceptions. Here we go. This is a man who used to turn in an 8-page session 6 months ago and think he really covered that target. All right. Target has aspects of land, a structure, biological 1, biological 2, biological 3, and a man-made. Land is flat and square rectangular in shape, wide in size, hard and solid in density. It is supportive of a structure. There is an open area and royal ambiance associated with it. Temps are cool, breezy, outdoors with natural structure. Coloring of the land surface is gray. There's asphalt smell with concrete taste. Luminance is bright with colorful surroundings and symbolic tangibles. The land is set aside especially for the process taking place there. A dignified meaning related with it. Process is going on in concept as they get together, meeting, religious and peaceful. Many human biologicals, male and female present. Pilgrimage, prayerful, ritualistic, traditional. Languages spoken English and reflective of various cultures. Slow, careful, and deliberate method to the process. Sounds of the land are PA, amplified, crowded with human bios, speaking, musical, and festive. The land purpose is in concept, executive, office, private, administrative, and duty related. It is city-like in its structure with a large, dense population on the perimeter of where the processes take place. It is solidly built in structure, old and historical in concept. Distinguishing features there are scenic, natural beauty, and traditional. Further purposes of the process: fortifying, strengthening, relieving, refreshing. Motions of the bios engaged in the process are gesturing, physical, marching, walking, military, and orderly ambiance. Emotions of the bios engaged in the process are serious and solemn, and it takes about an hour and 45 minutes from start to finish. The structure is stage and platform-like in structure. It is, and he's using like. Notice that. He is not saying it is a stage, and it is not definitely a platform. It is like those things. It is raised upward in direction from the ground. It is boxy, squarish, and flat in shape, with an ambiance of attraction and focal point. There is a concept of altar-like, royalty and focal point associated with it. I get a feeling a structure used in a solemn event. Colors associated with it are white, red, and gold. Its luminance is bright and vivid. It is festive, ornate, traditional in ambiance with spiral-like, pole-like structure on its both sides. Human bio is positioned in a standing alignment on both sides of it. Biological number 1 is a human in composition and male in structure. His purpose is ritualistic, sort of like being inaugurated with a royal meaning. His further purposes are ruling, governing, and religious. A taking of vows with a sworn-in meeting is related with him. There is a colorful ambiance and an important meaning related with him. His a stage-like presence. Concepts associated with him are stately, important, public, well-known, and somewhat spiritual. His emotions are feeling important, fulfilling a duty, sober, grounded, joyful, tired at times, and well-traveled. His smells are clean and natural. His background is religious, studious, humanitarian, and humble. His physical features are Caucasian, older in years, short in height, and stout in shape. Further concepts associated with him are aging, elder, guarded, and imperial. Bio 2 are human in composition, male and female in structures. Oh, we have biologicals number 2. Okay, we need to shake that out into, I'm not sure where we're at with number of biologicals, but they should have been described separately. They are human in composition, male and female in structure. They are attentive and audience-like in ambience. They are in a tangible, crowded, grouped pattern, orderly in structure. There is an observant meaning associated with them. Their purpose is pilgrimage, traveling, and sojourning. Their backgrounds are various, middle class, mostly Anglo-Saxon. Emotions are exuberant, anticipation, joy, happy, solemn, and serious. Their relationship with Bio 1 is physically distant yet joined with a spiritually related meaning. All right, let me amend what I said. Maybe this would be okay. Maybe a statement about being together if you pick that up. And you didn't go on, like if you describe their clothing and stuff, then maybe shake them out. All right, so I'll amend what I said earlier and let that ride. Okay, Bio 3, human in composition and male in structure. So we have another, like, these are like groups. Okay, their main purpose is for the protection of Bio 1. Meaning of watching, observing, guarding associated with them. Their emotions are solemn, serious, loyal, and devoted. Concepts related with them include security, experienced and watchful, tall in size, thin in shape. Backgrounds include security and intelligence. Man-made is red in coloring, jewelry like worn by Bio 1. Rounded in shape and small in size. If this would have been written in an outline format, you would have been able to just like say Bio 1 and come down and listed. I'm using my hands here like you can actually see me or something. You'd have listed like Bio 1 has this and this and this and this, and then come over and say, is wearing a man-made that is red in coloring and jewelry-like, rounded in shape, small in size. And so that way you're marching down in the outline format which exact thing you were looking at that goes with this bio. And that's the difference between the two types of summary writing. Its coloring is transparent gold, silvery, shiny, brilliant, and glowing in luminance. Its purpose is to signify authority and leadership. Its history is customized, made for Bio 1 and one of a kind. Its weight is approximately 1 3/4 pounds. Nice job. I can't verify that, but that's a nice job. Small size, round in shape, forged and etched in structure. Groove texture and luminance is radiant and shiny. Its weight is heavy for its size. Embossed lettering designed within it. Very good. And then we have some more session after that. So, all right, some of your pages with your worksheets on them. I see your phase 6 stuff. All right, so now I'm trying to figure that out. I mean, it's 9:50, and I'm trying to figure out how you did that in session and why you've got your summary in two parts and why I've got session in between that, if that's scanning or what the deal is, or if you came back from a break or if you had an interim summary. These are all possibilities. And without me being able to do that, it's kind of hard as I'm scrolling with you right here, right now. So now we're going to do some, okay, final summary. See, if I scroll back up, did you say interim up there? I'm going. Interim summary, good job. Bad analyst. That's what you call like running the webinar, not paying attention. Very good. Or at least I caught it on the flip side. So we had an interim summary. Excellent. Now we have the final summary. And man, this is a lot of stuff. Land is flat, square, rectangular shape, hard and solid. I think we've covered some of this. Yeah. So you kept the interim summary stuff, moved it into your final summary. Okay. Because you were working your P6 tools, so you did the interim and then kept it in the final is what I think I'm seeing. That's a massive session. Very good at
I just got back.
Hello.
Hi, I just got back and didn't see any of the summary, but I just saw this, and it's usually acceptable instead of moving all of your material and retyping it and all that, to just have a part saying see interim summary page such and such, and then go on with what else you got.
Excuse me, I didn't know, just scrolling down through, he may have gotten more stuff. That was a fast overview on my part. It appears to be the same as his interim summary, but it looks like it's exactly the same. But if he came back from taking a break and got more stuff, he would know to include that.
Yeah, in the final summary, yeah.
And he would know that. So, okay, Bob, you can see interim summary. If you got more stuff, please say so. All right, massive session and extreme growth as a viewer in the last few months. Good job. I have no feedback yet, so I'm saying good job on your session per se, your structure, staying curious, reporting on every nook and cranny you could possibly think of and not making it your life's work. All right, so I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go and pull up Lynn's site. And Lynn, at this point, do you have any idea what target with the tasking you think Bob actually latched onto? Was his 2.5 or 04? Do you have any idea?
The front loading that he got was for 0304, so it'd be March the 4th down there.
Well, we're going to look at both of them, and you guys are going to have to decide which ones you viewed.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so here's 04 with the plant and the milky but not milky white stuff pouring.
Yeah, the white heated liquid, yeah.
Yep, and I'm trying to remember Janine's sketch as well. Oh, and look.
What it's pouring into is not a big thing. It's a mold.
Uh-huh.
And it's a square box with a rim on top. And, and it's pouring into that mold.
Right. Just the way he's got it. Look at that. All right, and I'm trying to really hard to remember Janine's sketches. She had the structures. All right, and
there's the conveyor belt thing to the left.
That's where I was. and the chain thing. You can't see the conveyor. Something's up top with these chains on it too, I bet.
Yeah, and what he's carrying there is coal for the fire,
Yeah.
but they're carrying it in such quantities that they have to have this hopper that goes along, is suspended from a rail that goes from one end of the factory to the other.
Wow. Oh, here we have more pouring of white stuff.
Yeah.
That is not milk. I'm so glad he stray catted that and kept the perception the way he was supposed to. Wow.
And then they have motors that turn these things so they can file them down to precision specifications.
All right, so Bob's feedback, his dowsing map, puts him in Philippines. Ron didn't do a map. And I can't not do Janine at this point. It's driving me nuts.
This target is in Russia.
Right, so Bob's map, trying to do this very carefully without doing it too fast. Bob's map had him over close to the Philippines. I just want to see her sketches again. All right. And she had the hard tile-like floor. Okay.
Yeah, but her kitchen part there, is it up above there?
Yeah.
The metal that is melted is melted in what's called an oven.
Right.
And then put into that pot.
Mm-hmm.
And then that pot is taken to where the molds are to put the stuff in it. So the ovens are controlled with the control things, and they have the panels and all that. The stuff is then put into that pot and taken on that conveyor belt down, or that suspended conveyor thing down to where the molds are and poured into the molds. So the descriptor of a kitchen-like thing or lab is very appropriate.
Okay.
However, if she had gone with kitchen, that noun, it would have been over. It would have been over right there.
But what if she would? Granted, you're not supposed to go with a noun. But what if she was actually describing the restaurant in the Philippines?
Could be, yeah.
That's what I was trying to sort out here, even though she switched her coordinates in the middle of the session because she's like, oh, we're not doing that target, we're doing this target. And granted, she should not buy into the kitchen as a noun, but if she described a kitchen and the restaurant in the Philippines had a kitchen, that's why I was going back to kind of take another look.
Yeah, if you watch that video,
yeah,
it has a serving area, but down in the water,
right?
I didn't get the impression that the food was cooked down there in the water. I would have to review that video again.
All right, so here's the other one. And Gabriella and Andrew.
I don't know if you can play that video or not.
I'm afraid to.
Yeah,
I've done that before, and it locks this up. So
yeah.
So anyway, Gabriella and Andrew, the reason we're doing this little schizophrenic split thing is because from what we did last year, Lynn's been using these webinars. He has targets that he spends 5 and 6 hours on each one of these to get it into shape so that he could present it for basic through professional viewers to practice as well as learn from. So he has a lot going on in his life, and he's been behind on targets for a really long time, getting them up on his website. So he's using, I would like to have targets that people can't say that you could have gone there, they're already posted, you already knew what it was, you couldn't have done that, because we're getting some phenomenal sessions here. I wanted targets somehow that, even if it was only us, it's like it wasn't even available to the public. I mean, we'd have to sign notarized statements if if we wanted to publish or challenge.
Yeah, this target was made visible to the public this afternoon.
That's right. So none of you as viewers knew or could get your hands on this feedback until today. That's the kind of target I was wishing we could do, and nobody could point fingers at us and say, well, all you had to do is, and you cheated. You could not have done that well. You cheated. So we're using this as a catalyst for Lynn, an incentive to help him have a goal to keep up and get his targets up to speed where he's trying to get them. So between this month and I put up 04, and I should have put up 25, and then I put post correcting what I did like a couple of days later. But I knew that we might have a little bit of confusion here if people didn't get the correction. And so we've got a mixed bag of goods as to trying to figure out who actually viewed what, and then did they view both, which wouldn't have surprised me either, because you guys are used to moving around the globe, and it really wouldn't have surprised me at all. See what we get. I was hoping for the best, but
yeah, the next one will be 150429.
I'm going to write that down.
And I will not make that visible to the public until next month, right before this webinar.
Okay, so that's your coordinates for next month, 150429. Hopefully I will get the tasking when I post that, because that was another one of my goals, because people, it's like, okay, you're a remote viewer if you got, 3 perceptions on this picture. Yeah, you got that. Woohoo! I wanted them to see, okay, at basic level, you're trained to look for this. At intermediate level, you are trained to look for this. At advanced level, you're trained to look at this. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of people at this point following us on Facebook, and they're seeing that this is more than pulling a rabbit out of a hat in what we can actually do. So posting the tasking with the coordinates was part of my goal for this year. It's March, and maybe by November I'll get that down, between Lynn and I coordinating each other and trying to figure out, me moving the house and him taking care of the family and God knows what. So
I'll send you the front loading on it as soon as I get the target finished.
Okay. So we will continue to do that. But anyway, back to Bob. He doused a location in the area of the Philippines. So at least he's in the right section of the world, and that's good. And Bob, if any of you want to chime in here who worked the target, any of the 3 of you, with comments, feel free. It's pretty clear. I think Ron nailed 04. And I'm trying to now wrap my head around that session of Bob's and figure out which one. His map says 25.
Yeah, I think the front loading itself may have messed Bob up and gotten him onto like a parade procession or something like that from that initial sketch. I don't know, but that's why I was stressing that the target is, in that front loading that he had, the target is, it's telling him that the target is the process aspect of the target. It's not telling him what the target is.
Right.
And
so I'm...
Front loading can be a complex thing.
Oh, I know. And actually, the folks who are coming in, and I don't know if the folks who have been in for a while remember, that's why I start out, I teach them that the manual has several aspects to it that are intertwined and overlap and all relate. But we start out covering terms. Then we move into the monitor manual, and then they get that tie-in, and then we move to the viewer manual. So by the time they get to the viewer manual, they've heard neutral words and a well-formed question to a psychic, a dozen times already. So it's starting to hopefully gel with them. And so they know that wording is very, very important, and the slightest change can skew an entire session, the focus of it. So I'm looking at this restaurant, and it has a process. There was a process in creating the restaurant. There's a process in the damming of it, creating the dam. And so there's a process involved here, and I'm wondering if he described any particular part of it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
A process of feeding these people,
yeah,
unless they all brought boxed lunches, which I don't think so. It's a restaurant.
Yeah, ordering food and getting served is a process, yeah.
Right, and so I wanted him to make sure that, he may be sitting there thinking the same thing, or he may be sitting there thinking he totally blew this target. But there are processes going on at this target as well, and without, I can't unfortunately juggle 3 sessions and 2 feedbacks and run the equipment here and sort and critical think that.
Yeah, the word of caution that I would give to everyone is not every teacher or every tasker understands that the front loading has to be neutral. It has to tell you what aspect to focus on and not something about the target. And Teresa, I think I may have shown you that time where a trainer in remote viewing, one of his front loadings is your target is the activity that takes place at the Red Horse brothel in such and such a place, and
I just told a student that in the last 48 hours, probably.
And there are trainers out there.
I brought it in under unethical, actually.
Yeah.
I said, you do that, you're no longer my student if I find out about it.
Yeah, and even many of the professional trainers just don't understand the word neutrality, and they don't understand.
Are you intimating? Get the pun? Intimating that the word brothel has baggage?
Oh,
another pun.
Was that another pun? Yeah.
Yeah. Although brothel probably not a whole lot of baggage with it. It's very mobile.
Yeah.
But that's a loaded word.
Yeah. But in the video that I'm making for the online training, I go into this that if you cannot trust the person who's creating the front loading, and that person is not trained and experienced enough to know that front loading tells you what aspect to focus on and not anything about the target, then absolutely refuse to take front loading from that person because they will mess up your session every time. And it's very important.
Are you saying not to work for that person, or just take coordinates and forget everything else?
Take coordinates and forget everything else. And in fact, if that person doesn't know the difference between front loading and pollution, I wouldn't trust them with anything else either.
Yeah, I hear you. But unfortunately, you don't know.
I am saying that if you train with Teresa, she knows the difference, and she knows this well. So, but you have to be careful who you work for. Somebody will say, oh, I'm not going to tell you anything about the target, but it's a murder case that we're working on in so-and-so, and And
Oh.
so I'm not going to tell you what part of it we're going to task you with. So this is neutral. I'm sorry, but after a murder case, it is not neutral. Okay. And people will do that to you. So you have to be very careful as a remote viewer, especially while you're in the training and development mode. When you get into professional mode, we have courses that teach you how to deal with people like this and how to view cleanly in spite of pollution, but that's a long way off from the basic course. So, yeah, you have to be very careful who you work with and for when you're doing remote viewing. Anyway, just so much on that.
And I know that sounds uppity and superior, and we don't mean to be like that. This is a very complicated thing. You as viewers need to know what you need to know to do it successfully. The setting it up, that's where I think that there's an unbelievable amount of education that I don't know if it will ever happen to the extent that I'm a Lynn product. And so you can remote view. You can get 5 perceptions on a feedback photo, and yeah, you went through time and space and did that. But to do it successfully in all aspects, it's a very complicated thing. And it's not something that you can learn overnight, and it's not something, excuse me, my kid is learning to play the piano. I have no desire to learn to play the piano. And yes, it's self-defeating. I'm not too sure I'd be any good at it. There are reasons we choose to do what we do because we like it. Yes, sometimes we're forced, obviously. It is life. But there are some people who are just naturally better at it. I'm not saying that I'm one of them either. I'm just saying that it is setting this stuff up, especially in operations, is not an easy thing. One word can skew an entire project or session that has taken months to set up. By the time you work with the tasker, get the questions nailed out, find the viewers who are available with the skill set that you need and the proficiency levels. I'll get viewers who say, oh yeah, I can do that. And you find out they haven't done a session for a year and a half. I'm sorry, it's not good enough. And so, by the time you set up a team and work through all these processes, it's work. And then, for somebody to come along and change your front loading by one word because they couldn't follow instructions, it just, all that work down the drain possibly.
So, yeah, it's very important. And Teresa, like me and like the other controlled remote viewers and controlled remote viewer trainers, start you out working toward the day when you'll work professionally, or you can do professional work with professional people, bring home kids alive, and soldiers alive and cops and all that. And so we train on a professional level. And you go out on the internet, and I'm sorry, the internet can be your biggest enemy in learning remote viewing because there are so many wannabe experts who have no idea what they're talking about, but they're more than ready to tell you that they're the best in the world, we're number one and all that, Just be very careful out there, okay?
All right, so I think that pretty much wraps up this evening. A lot of people are on spring break and who normally send in sessions. Next month's target coordinates are 150429, and we will see whoever can make it in 4 weeks. Any questions from anybody? You can take your mics off mute or type them into the text area in the chat. I do not have Q&A up where I can see that text box. I'm using the chat box. So welcome again, Gabrielle and Andrew. And I know that tonight was probably, it's like, do they know what they're doing? Most of the time we do all right. I'm just checking to see for comments, questions here at the end. And it's 10:15, so we'll be going here in a couple minutes.
This kind of meeting is what we call in Texas a goat roping.
Okay.
It's fun.
Not if you're a goat. All right. Well, with that, thanks for coming, everybody, and we will see you again in a month. And if you're my student and doing online review, see you sooner. Linda, doggone it, Linda Renault is here. Did you send in a session that I didn't get, that I didn't pull up? I know it's a heck of a time to ask as we're exiting. I don't recall seeing it. And Linda is a Dave Morehouse viewer. I'm looking. I'm not seeing anything. Uh-oh. Michelle sent in a session. She's going to shoot me. I just found it. And see, that's why I'm trying to get a more organized setup, too, for when I have stuff coming in from multiple students here, more than just the 5 or so that I have at the moment. I have more students than that, but not everybody is active. Some folks are out and about.
Teresa?
Yes.
That's the February target.
Oh, good. I feel better now because it was looking familiar. Oh, because March and February, 050325. Okay, I'm good. And with that, I am going to say good night, Gracie. Good night, John Boy. Good night, everybody. All right. See you in a month.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
All right.